Hello, welcome to the new moon. For this new moon this month, I want to talk about the importance of being miserable. Probably not what you thought I was going to talk about today, but I think it's really important because it's something society has really taught us that we need to move away from discomfort. Like, nah, that's not someplace we want to be, but it's so important to be able to sit in our discomfort, to sit in the things we don't like, to sit in our misery, because that is a super powerful place to be, because that will teach us where our boundaries are, what our values are, what we want and what we don't want in our life. But the difference between being miserable and like letting it fester and using it to actually learn something about ourselves is curiosity. So if we just sit and we don't do anything, then we're just miserable for no purpose, and we don't want to sit there. But if we can approach our misery, we can approach our discomfort with curiosity and say, okay, what about this situation, this thing, person, place, whatever, is making me unhappy, is making me feel like dis-easeful in this moment? Then we can actually grow from it and learn more about ourselves, what our boundaries are, what our values are. And I think this is something we should be teaching to kids, like when they're really upset. You know, we're oftentimes like, shh, 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 just like, no, you're okay, you're okay. When in reality, we need to be asking them like, well, what's going on? What are you feeling? What about this situation feels achy to you? What is making you unhappy right now? Because that's what we need to be teaching humans to do. And that's what I teach humans to do, is to learn why they're unhappy. So I have an exercise for this new moon, because new moons are beautiful times to open doors to possibilities, let in new things. But first we have to know what we want to let in and also clear out some of the old shit. So I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to write down everything in your life that is pissing you off right now. Everything you hate, everything you dislike, everything that irritates you, everything that annoys you. And then I want you to get curious about those things. And I want you to go and ask yourself, well, what about this? What about this situation? What about this person? And be really honest with yourself, you know? It could just be like there's a person in your life that's irritating you, and when you actually sit down, you're like, I like their hair. Their hair looks better than mine. It could be something super petty and jealous and stupid, but then wow, you get to recognize that in yourself and how silly you're being. And it's not a judgment on yourself, but it's like, how much energy did you just clear up? You've been irritated at this person for so long, and it's just because you're a little bit jealous of them, or they remind you of somebody that hurt you years ago, or they remind you of something else. Like, when we get curious about the things that are causing us agitation, irritation, anger in our lives, then we really empower ourselves. So I want you to make that list. I want you to get curious about that list. And then I want you to start thinking about kind of the opposite of it. So, that was one example of like, well, we can just clear that. We can just say like, well, that's silly and I can let that go. But then there might be something that's like, well, this really goes against my values and this really goes against my boundaries. I feel really disrespected. But then you get to go in the opposite way and go, okay, well, what would I need in this situation to feel respected? And then you can act on that. I need X, Y, and Z, and now I get to go and ask for X, Y, and Z. Or maybe it's I need to leave this situation, or I need to look for an alternative. But when we get curious, we learn so much about ourselves. So I want you on this new moon to take inventory of the things that really that really grind your gears, shall we say, in the US from like, I don't know, the 90s. What really grinds your gears? And start to get curious about it. Start to make different choices, start to speak up for yourself, start to set those boundaries so that you can start to call into your life things that are in more alignment with your joy and bringing you happiness and making you feel safe and making you feel stable. Okay, I hope you have a beautiful new moon, and I will see you again sometime soon.